What's up, it's McRocklin here, and today we're going to throw some questions up on the screen, and I'm going to give you some home truths, some answers. Let's get right into it. Let's go. What is it like being an influencer and YouTuber in the music industry? For me, I never really thought of myself as an influencer per se. Even now, I consider myself more of an artist that has a social following. And yes, I'm really into gear, but I'm incredibly choosy and picky about what I use, which is why my feed is not just dripping in sponsored posts by X brand, X brand, X brand. Everything that I use, it has to serve a purpose. It has to be something that I love. And of course, there's other ways that you can be an influencer in the music industry. You know, you could be really into a certain band or lots of bands, and you love doing covers and releasing music that way. And for sure, that can get you a large audience. But for me, you know, I like writing the songs, I like creating things and releasing music. You know, that's where the satisfaction comes from. And it's funny how social plays into that, because you know, many times I kind of tease little licks and riffs on socials first. So it's like they kind of get guinea pigged on like Instagram. And then if I see like a bunch of comments about a certain riff or lick, I'm like, I'm gonna save that post, and like I draw on that at a later date, and then I start piecing songs together sometimes that way. So I've never told anyone that before. There we go. Question: how your community drives you and what you enjoy about it. One of the more recent things that I'm incredibly proud of is the community that's based around my online platform, School of McRock. This community is absolutely epic. It's filled with like-minded guitarists and musicians, and it's really cool because we don't just discuss guitar stuff. It's very broad and vast, and I love it. I spend a lot of time with this community, and it's really beneficial to everything that I do, because it gives me another audience that I can bounce not only songs but new company ideas that I'm working on right now. And it's really, really great just to have direct feedback. And the other side of that is, as well as, you know, because these are members of School of McRock and they're really frequently watching the lessons and stuff, it's incredibly satisfying to also see them grow as musicians. And you know, just recently I was listening to a member's song, and I remember this specific member when he first joined. You know, his playing was pretty good, but now when I'm hearing his work in his current song that he's about to launch, I'm like, whoa, that is like absolutely mind-blowing. You know, the improvements that he's made. I love seeing that. You know, that gives me the feels so much. It's like I don't know, I'm really, really proud of like so many members of the site, sorry. So I think it's incredibly important to use your community and be an active part of it. You know, even if you're just starting out and you have a couple of friends that you really value their opinion of, it's great to bounce ideas off people, and I rely heavily on my community. And to be honest, I don't know where I'd be without those guys. Let's move on to the next question. Oh, this one is easy, come on. I mean, back in 2017, I think it was, the very first time I heard Fishman Fluence. I think it was a set of classics at the time, and I put them in a guitar that I was playing at that time, and it took me all of just a couple of minutes to realize that these pickups are going to be a massive part of my sound going forwards. And then it quickly became even more than that, because I was relying so heavily on the splits, and the Fluence splits are like no other split that you've ever heard before. Just so chimey and full of detail. So pretty much from the first moment that I heard Fishman Fluence, I had to have as many of my guitars as possible converted over to using Fishman pickups, and obviously that leads us up to where we are today with my own custom series here, which is something that I'm absolutely in love with. Alright, here we go with another question. What does my day-to-day typically look like? This is kind of the cool thing about being a full-time musician. No day is exactly the same, and for me it's just about prioritizing all the things that need to be done that week. But to give you some context on this, a typical day might run something like this. Wake up around 8, get the kids off to school. First of all, get them out of your hair. I'm serious. And then for me, more recently, I've actually been trying to do something to keep me fit in the morning, because it's so easy to come in the studio and immediately start shooting content, start recording riffs for the next EP or the next album, and just do stuff that resolves around sitting in this static position for hours on end. So one thing I've been doing recently is I've just been getting back into playing basketball, something I used to play back in my teenage years, and it was kind of the only sport that I got really into. So I've been trying to play for an hour or two every morning, come back, have a shower, get some breakfast down me, and then I feel like I'm in a really good spot to start shooting a School of McRock lesson, recording some ideas, maybe do some social, Instagram stuff, a YouTube video, whatever will kind of get me to that sort of 3-4 o'clock sort of area. And then that's where I'll usually take a break. So I'll hit the studio for like 4 or 5 hours, and then later on in the afternoon, I might have a live stream, or I might have a live masterclass with School of McRock, but there's usually some kind of activity happening later on in the afternoon. And then early evening, that's kind of my time that I really like to break all of my devices that I'm using to create sounds and start working on new sounds. So it might be the time that I start checking out new gear that I want to kind of use or potentially use. Sometimes I'll do a sort of a later live stream, 8-9 p.m. UK time, and I'll finish quite late, like at midnight. So that could potentially be the entire day done with right there. If I'm not streaming late in the evening, that 8-9 p.m. stream, that's usually the time that I'll kind of chill out, maybe go out, or just blast a few hours on YouTube, just switching off and watching some of my favorite channels. But overall, that early evening to late evening, that's kind of more like my flexi time, and it's the time that I probably experiment with new stuff the most as well. But honestly, each day is really different, and there can be days where right now I'm working on new companies, and they require a lot of time and effort, so I'll have to maybe do a little bit of less videos for a certain platform and work on this for a couple of days, and then we catch up, we make more videos in batches, and then we've got buffer videos. So it's fun, it can be stressful, but I wouldn't change it for anything. It is a very difficult industry to make your full-time career. There's no doubt about it. You have to think about revenue streams, stores, maybe brand deals, releasing music. How do you make music make you money? And it can be very challenging to pull all of that stuff off, especially from the get-go, right? It's like, how do you go from nothing to multiple stores, multiple revenue streams, and all that stuff? It's very, very difficult, very challenging. For me, one of the platforms that I went all in on for the first 12 months was Instagram. So in those first 12 months, I was doing maybe 4 or 5 video posts a week, and that was great because I went from being a noob video editor to somebody that was really, really quick at making these really, really cool posts. And that skill would then be really, really useful for other platforms later on. Focusing on a platform so you can really maximize what it's doing for you is really cool, because a lot of the content is portrait. Well, you can easily cross-post from TikTok to Instagram Reels to YouTube Shorts. So it's never been easier to kind of share the same content across multiple platforms, potentially growing multiple platforms all at the same time. And the trick, I guess, is how do you pull all of those separate audiences into one community? That's kind of like the difficulty, and that's really why I think School of McRock is kind of at the center and the hub for everything that I do now. It's really a big part of everything that I do. So definitely take the time to work on the things that you think are your weaknesses. So if video editing, for example, is something that you think you're just awful at, well, look at my early YouTube videos, absolutely trash, you know, really cringe to the max, terrible. But we're always going to look back on earlier content and earlier music with that viewpoint. So I think it's more important to just start releasing music, getting video and content out there, and just continue to get better at doing it. And you'll also get much more confident in front of the camera as well. Again, I was terrible in front of a lens. Anytime the lens was on me, I could barely make eye contact with it initially. And now, they just can't shut me up. Sorry, okay, I'll shut up now. All right, final question. How has Fishman impacted your career? So many of you may not know that I took a massive break from playing the guitar and the music industry in general. And when I returned in 2017, one of the very first brands that I started to use and work with was Fishman. I heard the term Fluence and I heard the term Fishman, and you know, people were like, have you heard them? Have you tried them? So I eventually gave them a try, and I was hooked, and we got on really well. So much so that they would invite me over to perform at the Winter NAMM at the Fishman booth. And that was like, oh, that was nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie, but it was incredibly exciting because it was one of the first performances that I'd done since returning to the music industry, and suddenly being on their amazing stage with guys like Tosin Abasi in the audience, I was like, oh, what the hell is going on? It was just super cool. Such a great way of getting back into the music industry. And I would work more with Fishman, you know, from projects that we've done with Triple Play. We now have a custom Fluence pickup, which is absolutely amazing. I'm so grateful, and I'm excited for you guys to check it out. Anyway, that's all from me. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and I'll see you real soon. Thanks again. Cheers. Bye.